What's up, Bulls Nation? It's the Bloody Horns podcast. I'm your host, Justin, and I think I did it, guys. I think I found a reason to defend AKME on their trade deadline strategy. Not necessarily a reason to defend it, because it's still stupid. It's still pretty short-sighted, but at least a reason to maybe understand why they did what they did. Because that's the prevailing thing coming out of the trade deadline is you see local people, you see Twitter people, you see national people. They're all like, what the fuck are the Chicago Bulls doing? This makes no sense to Stan Padigan. But I may have found the reason, guys. I may have found the reason. I may have seen the light. They may have convinced me. They may have won me over. And there is one reason, well, two reasons, but one reason specifically in the last week or so that's made me see this light and made me realize why they did what they did. And that's Ayo Dosunmu. Ayo Dosunmu is playing out of his mind lately. In the past 5 games since the trade deadline, he is 16 points a game, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, a steal a game, half a block a game. He's shooting 58% from the 3. He's shooting he's shooting 58% from the field, 55% from 3. So Ayo playing out of his mind. Then you had the defensive side on it. You saw him. He had Trae Young locked up last night. So Ayo, he's looking like he's that dude. So here's why the Bulls did what they did, because they see value in the play-in. And I see the same value in the play-in that they see in the play-in. And that is, it's a valuable litmus test for Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu. So the play-in might not mean shit to you guys, but for those guys, it's their first competitive basketball game. Ayo did play 2 years ago. He was playing. I believe he was starting for that Milwaukee Bucks series, but he was a rookie. He didn't really know what was going on. His feet weren't really wet in this game yet. He's a much different player now than he was then. Coby White, he was also on the court for that Milwaukee Bucks series, but in a very marginal role. He was basically out of the rotation by the time that series came around. And then the play-in game last year, they weren't the players they are now. We were relying a lot on Alex Caruso in those games. We were relying a lot on Patrick Beverley in those games. Those two, Ayo wasn't really in the rotation much. Coby was in the rotation, but he wasn't as trusted as he is right now. So for the Chicago Bulls, it makes sense for them to keep their assets and make this push into the play-in so that they can use this play-in game to see what a starting backcourt of Coby White and Ayo Dosunmu looks like. Ayo, the last 5 games or so, he looks like a legit quality starting caliber guard in the NBA. Can he hold up? Can he keep that same rank, that same value in a high-pressure play-in game? If they win the play-in tournament, can he keep this level of play up in actual playoff games? That is a very important question that the Chicago Bulls need to answer, because if the answer is yes to either of those questions for Coby or Ayo, if they both show up to that playoff series and play competent basketball and show that they are starting caliber level players in playoff situations. They're both on value contracts right now. They are both on bargain contracts. Makes it really easy to rebuild this team when you have your 2 starting guards. I believe Coby's at $13 million this year. Ayo, I think his contract was right around 10. So if your two starting guards, if your starting backcourt is making a combined $23 million, that's really easy to build around. That's kind of like in the NFL, how it's so easy to build around a rookie scale quarterback. Same thing. If your starting backcourt is making a combined under $30 million, super easy to build around. So I get it. We wanted to see moves made, but I also understand the thinking behind the value of the play-in tournament. So we can really get a litmus test, get a measuring stick for these young guards, for Ayo Dosunmu, for Coby White. If we meet the Atlanta Hawks in that play-in game, the 9 versus 10, can Coby and Ayo outplay DeJounte and Trae like they did last night? You can do it in the regular season. It's a whole different ballgame when those stakes are up. So it makes sense to me. I'm not saying that it's the smartest strategy in the world. I'm just saying I see the light on the strategy. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you're not following on social media, hit the handle. It's @HornsBloody, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of that. If you haven't checked out the podcast yet, I just recorded a new podcast over on the Horns Over Hoops. I hopped on with those guys. We talked a little Zach LaVine, talked a little trade deadline, talked a little NBA All-Star. Keep in mind, we recorded it the Sunday before trade deadline, so a lot of the stuff that I said didn't really happen, didn't really land, but go check it out. Give those guys a follow. They're really good dudes. Bulls are back tomorrow night against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Last game before All-Star break. Thank God.